Howdy folks, Daveman here again, Rollman Revolution. Now, this is going to be the introduction to a series that I decided to do called My Story or something along that lines. I may come up with a little more clever title or something in the weeks to come, but the whole idea is to kind of give you a sense of kind of who it is that I am, what it is that I've done, and kind of how it is I've got to the place we call the here and now. I'm going to try to break it up into several different parts. I start this part like doing like a small introduction, and then maybe going into more of a religious area and how religion kind of shaped the way I see things and what that whole process did in the course of my life. Then basically going into my marriage, and my marriage is, I was married 3 times, and each one happened at a pivotal point in my life, and I learned something very important about myself because of it. And then maybe going into the travel part, and then just the rabbit holes that I've gone down. But there's so many things that shape a person's what we call an awakening. And I don't know, sometimes I have a big, not a problem with it, but it just doesn't really justify. That word doesn't really justify it for me. When somebody says I had an awakening, I'm like, I just woke up one day. Now, for me, it wasn't, it just, I woke up. I just started noticing certain things that didn't make sense to me at a very young age. And my mother, who I only got a chance to spend 16 years of my life with, she died when I was fairly young, was a very intuitive, feely type person. She was, she would make comments that were wisdom beyond, most of us wildest dreams. She would make these little things. She would say these little things that they still stuck to me to this day, and she was right. And one of the things that I will always remember that my mom said, and I don't know if she said it to my brother, I'm pretty sure she just, she would tuck me in at bed at nighttime, because I was always talking about the church, because I was raised in a Catholic family, went to Catholic school from kindergarten to 8th grade. But when I would go to bed at nighttime, she would tuck me in, and I remember asking questions about hell because I would having these dreams about the devil or so. I can't remember what it was, but there was some scary dream that I was happening, and I remember asking her a question about, hell, and my mom said, hell doesn't exist. She goes, this is hell. We are in hell, and it's up to us to figure out how to get out. It's exactly how she said it. Now, I don't know about you, but that's not really Catholic. Because the Catholic Church always tells you that the only way to get out is through Jesus Christ, through God, through the church. They always have a certain pathway, a certain, angle of attack in which you must do. You must accept, Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. You must, through good works and through faith, that you will find justification and all of this other stuff. And it's like, wait a minute. The biggest problem I had when I was a young kid was the whole thing of ownership of anything. I couldn't understand why you had to own land, and that is this person's land, and this is my land, and he owns that, and everyone else. I'm like, owning anything is just so silly here, I think. It's just it makes no sense on any plane you could even possibly talk about, because, well, if you say you own this now, and I kill you, then now who owns it? And then I kill them, and then who owns it? I mean, we could just keep playing this game over and over again. I mean, ownership is literally something that we all agree upon, but it's such a made-up thing. Nobody owns anything here. Everything is so borrowed, and why would you want to control anything here? That was my confusion as a very, very young kid. Now, I know I was probably weird. I was not the very popular kid in school. I mean, I was the guy that I fit in everywhere. I was vanilla. Okay, I was the guy that was really decent enough at sports that the sports guys would, pick up on me. But I was smart enough to hang with the nerds. And then I was funny enough to kind of joke with the girls a little bit or whatever it was. But I was so damn shy when I was a kid. Girls scared the living shit out of me. okay? I didn't understand them. I thought they were weird. And for the longest time, I couldn't even really speak to them because I didn't understand them, okay? And as a young kid in a Catholic school or in just growing up, you are so confused. I mean, I don't know about you all, but I was so confused at how people acted and how people are, and I just took it all in. Maybe I was a weird kid. I love to stand back and just watch people at play. Just watch people doing what they normally do. And I was just amazed by this whole thing. And I know that sounds silly, stupid. I had an experience when I was 11 years old, and I'll never forget it. And it was like one of those shaking points in your life where I remember sitting on my BMX bike at the end of the street in the subdivision that I live, and I was at the end of the block, and it got really, I don't know if you ever lived in Florida, and when the locusts in summertime get really, it gets hot and moist out, or wherever it is, and the locusts at just about dusk start to get this really, it's deafening when there's a ton of them out, and it got so loud one night. And I remember I was sitting up at the edge of the block, and that deafening sound sat there, and something happened. I don't know how to explain it to anybody, and I've never talked to anybody about this other than my late wife. And it just felt like I entered into some other different timeline. It just felt like something changed at that moment, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And this happened several times throughout my life where it felt like I was just shoved into something else, and I could feel it. And then all of a sudden, new memories started coming in at a weird point, or new knowledge, I should say, started coming in shortly after that feeling. And these weird experiences, and I don't know if anybody else has had any of them, have kind of shown themselves and exposed themselves at key moments in my life to either tell me that things are going to be okay, you just need to know this because it's going to be okay, or preparing me for something that is going to be really tragic, or something that's not good, is going to happen. And with my wife, even in particular, it's just some weird things happened shortly before she passed away. I mean, again, this world is so painful. It's so diabolical, and it will beat you up and spit on you and do everything it possibly can to break you if you let it. It's like we're all doing the best we can here, and we're all trying to make sense out of it, but everybody is fighting so hard to be right that you have to have this, you have to be part of this religion, or you have to be part of this group, or you have to be part of this type of thinking. It's like, wait a minute. Look, I came into this world knowing nothing, just like you, okay? And I have, based upon the people that I've interacted with and the schools that I went to and the jobs that I took, I have a certain perception of the world, and so do you. Depending upon where I was born, okay, or depending upon where you were born, will determine more than likely the religion that you were born into. And that religion just so happens to be the right religion, okay? So if you were born in the Middle East, more than likely you would be a Muslim, and you were born into the right religion, and you believe it's the right religion. Just as far as if you came to the United States and you were born into a Christian family and a Christian religion and raised in the Christian, and that is the right religion. Or if you were in, let's say, Asia, Buddhism or Hinduism would be the right religion, and everybody believes that that is the way and that is the path. Now you have all of these people, all of these religions, all of this groupthink, all of this, knowledge supposedly on the planet. And what I've discovered through, I said, the key moments through my life and through this journey is that most of what is here is insufficient. It doesn't answer any of the questions that I have. The deep questions, the questions of why we are here. Why we have no idea how it is we got here, what happened before here, what's supposed to happen after here. Why is it we fear death? Why is it there's so much pain and suffering? Why is it that we have to destroy and kill animals or plants or anything in order for us to survive? Why is it such a violent, vicious, unforgiving environment that supposedly was made for you and me? This place is a mental hospital. It is filled with so much hate, so much destruction, so much poverty, so much, we have all this religion and all of this supposed good philosophy in the world, but the Catholic Church, which is loaded billions of dollars worth of, they ain't helping anybody. They ain't trying to figure out ways to come up with effective ways to get, water and goods to villages that are in the middle of nowhere or don't have irrigation or don't have the proper tools or techniques, which we could easily do if we really wanted to. You could easily industrialize third world countries and allow them to mine the minerals or use the land that they have properly so that they could blossom, bloom, and thrive. But we don't want that. We don't send aid to foreign countries because we don't want those people to rise up or to have a better life, because by keeping them down, dumb, and ignorant, well, then they'll just keep doing the work that we want them to do. They'll keep doing all the jobs. They'll keep being the test dummies for all of the crap because they don't know any better, right? That's how human beings in this world think. It's like, how did I get dropped into a world with people who think like that? Because I don't think like that. So how is it that I'm in the same freaking damn category as other people that are walking around fucking crazy, trying to destroy other people's lives, finding ways to make their own self rich by destroying other people in the process? I mean, I don't know where you are, and I don't know what really moves you, what really drives you, but I know me. Okay? And the one thing that I have discovered through my 46 years of entertaining this crazy place is that I've discovered every single time I come back to something is I realize that I know myself. I know the experience, the spark, the essence of really who it is I am. I feel the energy around me. I feel the energy of other people, which is why, that's another thing. If you have that gift where you can feel and see, I don't want to say see, but you can, interact in a way with another person's energy from a distance. You can kind of see how people are. I don't know, I had this weird feeling when I walk into a room, I can just feel the shit almost immediately. If there's negativity in there, I can sense it. If there's a person who's the problem in the room, I can sense where the problem is. It's a very, very odd feeling. It happens at work all the time, and it's not really, it can be a blessing and a curse for those who know what I'm talking about. But yeah, this world is not very friendly. And it does things to us that, I don't know, that I believe shouldn't. If you had, and I'll get into this with in the religious section of the story, but if you have a God, an all-loving God, omnipotent, all-knowing, omnipresent, okay, whatever it is, whenever this fall of this devil kind of infiltrated into the earth, the big question I always had that I never could get answered is that why did God just let it happen? I mean, look, if he wanted his perfect creation to stay the way that it was and not be tainted, the moment that something came in to try to disrupt it, he could have said, get out, get behind me, Satan, or whatever, to stop it, but he didn't. And that's when you have this change. Like every time you argue with an apologist or you argue with somebody within the church, and this is what I'm saying, because I've been through the whole thing up to a certain point, many years of more Catholic teaching than most people who sit in the pews do. And when you start to realize how apologetics works, and it's like for every answer that you get, if it's not, if you find a counter argument to it, there's always another counter argument to your counter argument. And it's set up that way. But it's all based in theory. It's all based in 100% total belief. There is no way in hell any of this can be proven. And again, I'm just saying that most of what you find in religious texts, to me, it's a guide. They are guides, and each area of the world has a different guide on how. I think there are many ways to get out, but I believe it's not through those books. I don't believe it's through a God specific. I believe that if we're going to be talking about the God specific, that God is you. It's through you. Through your own focus, intention, I have seen the power of a person's intention. I have seen when groups of people who are truly, I don't want to say pissed, but they get so angry, but then focus that anger and energy into something positive. I have seen what that power can do. And it is unreal. I've seen people who had cancer, who believed that they were going to die from, or were told that they were going to die from cancer, said no, refused the treatments, went out, left, started doing some hiking, started doing the things that they wanted to do, started believing and started feeding their body the things that it felt that it needed. You know, if it had a craving for something, it would take it. If it wanted to do something, it would do it. And by golly, cancer-free. 6 months, 6 months later, 6 to 8 months later, something like that. But this world is so magical. It has magical properties all throughout it. And the magical part of it is nothing here. This isn't the magic. The magic's right here. It's right here. It's whatever is driving this. That magic is the most powerful, most expansive. We have been taught to think so small, to think this is all I am, and I need this thing, I need this thing, I need all of these things in order for me to get there. Where is there? What is the there that you are seeking? And how do you know that that there is the place you really should be going? You don't even know how you got here. You have no idea of any of this that is happening around you. The happenings that are around you right now are completely arbitrary. Or did you select this? Did you purposely come here? Who the hell knows, right? Nobody here knows if we purposely came here, if we were pushed down a freaking vacuum, chute and ended up in a body here. Nobody has any idea if any of this is happening. But there are millions of experts out there with a belief system that they want to recruit you for and tell you that they know the way. What I'm saying is, prove it. And none of it can be proven because it's all through faith or belief or whatever, whatever you want to refer to that as. It's a complete blind trust into something you cannot prove. You just are taking something's word for it. And I'm saying, look, I don't know how I got here. Nobody seems to be bothered by the fact that none of this makes any sense. None of it. We are confined to a meat suit, stuck on a land. We can only go to certain cold temperatures, only go to certain hot temperatures before our system shuts down. We are limited by the governments of the world to travel. We're not allowed to go wherever you want to go. You have to have a passport first to get in and out of anything. And then, if I just wanted to go in the seas, if I just wanted to take a boat and just go south and just keep going south as far as I could go till I hit the Antarctic ice wall, okay? And then try to climb up the ice wall and just keep going south, I would be intercepted before I even got down there because I'm not allowed to. See, we live in a world where we think that we have all of this freedom, but there are wardens that are kind of controlling everything, and we follow it blindly. We have abdicated the power that lives within us and given it away to people, and these people have enslaved us. In this reality, you already have no idea how you got into this flesh suit, and you're so afraid of what the frick this world really has to offer that most people don't even question any of it anymore. It's presented in a certain way, and a lot of us either don't have the time or don't care how it's presented. And that's got to change. Now, my goal is to get myself out of this place, and your goal should be the same. You know, we read these religious texts and all this other stuff, and everything tells you about a certain way of being, a certain way of acting, a certain way of, interacting with the world. But a lot of them have a very similar connotation. They all are telling a very similar story in a variety of different ways. Like when you listen to the 10 Commandments, just read them out loud. They're just morals of life. There are things you should do if you want to lead a good life, so to speak. You shouldn't be stealing, you shouldn't be murdering people, shouldn't be, lying all over the place. You shouldn't be sleeping with your neighbor's wife. You shouldn't be your spiritual practices should be practiced on a regular basis. That's what the Sabbath is in a sense. You could say that I got to go on Sunday, but, meditation, whatever your practice should be practiced because you have to discover who it is that you are. So all of those commandments, all of that stuff to me, it's kind of like, yeah, duh. Yeah, if you want to do the right thing, that's probably the way you should lead your life if you want to be a good-natured individual. And that's where it comes to another understanding. Like, we'll argue about good is right and bad is wrong. But that's, again, perspective. We live in a binary world, which is on and off, up or down, left or right. It's this or that. Because you wouldn't know where this was if you didn't know what that was, right? Or here versus there, right? You can't have here, you can't have there, right? We live in a world that's set up this way. But none of it makes sense, okay? How am I supposed to know? Okay, we believe that good is the right way to be because, you feel better. It's promoting when you do good things. You release of oxytocin when you do good things, and it lasts for a longer period of time. When you do bad things, unless you're a psychopath, it bothers you. It nears on you. It's something that you don't really like to bathe in. But there are people in this world right now that love doing bad things. They live for doing bad things. So the question I've had is this just a playground for testing all different archetypes of shit? And we're stuck in the middle of all of it. Like I said, I feel as if somebody put me in some kind of prison and I was just caught for, doing drugs, but you got me in the friggin' D block with all the murderers, rapists, and crazy fuckers. That's the world that I feel like I'm living in. And how do you escape that, right? These Bibles, I said I've been back and forth between church and religion so many times in my life. And I've had so many people try to explain or try to answer the questions, that I needed further explanation for. And none of it has ever been sufficient enough. So when I tell a person that I'm agnostic, that I don't know about something, people are bothered by that answer, that I don't know. Like you say, well, you can't be agnostic. You either believe in God or you don't. Yeah, you can't be agnostic. I don't know. I'm like, I don't believe that there's sufficient evidence that a God exists, okay? There's a creation here. There's no doubt that this thing has been created, but by whom or what is anybody's. It could be multiple, it could be something. Yeah, something created this. But what is that something? Maybe I created this. And I'm stuck in my own bad dream. Who the hell knows who created this? But to sit down here and say that I'm going to sit on my knees and worship this or do these things or do those things because some person in a book said that you have to worship this person. Like, I don't even know who I am. How the hell am I supposed to friggin' respect this when I don't know who it is that I am and how it is that I even got here? Because I've been memory wiped. I have to believe everything that I'm told in this reality. Otherwise, they say, otherwise you're not going to go to the special place when you get out of here. I don't even know where I came from before. Maybe I was at the special place and somebody kicked me down the damn friggin' trash can hole. How the hell did I get here? I have no idea how I got here this time. Do you? And that's maybe where we should come full circle on this. Look, there's a large amount of stuff that this world presents to us, okay? And it's up to us to use the agency, the senses, the power that we have that's now been harnessed and finite down to these 5 senses in a 3D world, right? Stuck. But I'm telling you, these powers, these 5 senses, if you really focus your energy, start really taking care of this thing, the mind, the consciousness, the stuff, the spark that is you. When you enter the classroom of silence, okay, bring yourself back to you. Start thinking about you. Start taking care of you. Start recognizing how magnificent, how powerful, and how unbelievable you really are. The fact that we are having this communication, this conversation right now, isn't that weird? How is any of this happening? How is any of this going on right now? We live in a world that problems are created, problems are manifested by the psychopaths that run this place, okay? And all I want to know is, how did I get here? And how the hell do I get out? Because if you don't recognize that this place is not the paradise that is described in here, and if it is, God help us all, right? Because if this is paradise, okay, or a paradise that was made for you and me, it's not a very good design. And then I'm sure I'm going to get yelled at and beat up by all the Christians. I'm not shitting on anybody's religion. Please, before you start sending all that crap, I'm not shitting on anybody's religion. This is me talking for me, how I see the world. It's not sufficient in the fact that what I see, what I hear, what I taste, all of my senses are telling me an entirely different story than what's being talked about in this book. Now, what it could be is entirely different than what it is. We have to live in the reality, the sense of the world that it is. Not what pie in the sky, what we want it to be, or what it could. We have to get back to talking again. We have to get back to having conversations about those things that nobody seems to want to discuss. Okay? The reason why I started recording videos again is because my wife died, okay? Unnecessarily. Now, I was going to start revamping my page eventually anyway, but the direction of how things are in this world is all dependent upon how this system plays you and how you're willing to react to what it does. I've started to get a little bit better about how to react and what I should react to, because this time it's not going to win. It's not going to win, and I'm going to break it. But the only way we do that, and the only way I get myself out of here, is by recognizing exactly who it is that I am, recognizing the sovereignty, the power, and what I am as an individual, okay? What I radiate to the world is going to be beautiful, because if I always say, if you get the man right, the world takes care of itself. You get the world right. But we ain't working on anything here. We're so concerned about all of this flashy shit over here, and pay attention to my shit over here. There's somebody else trying to sell me some more of their crap over here. That's the world we live in. We live in a world where somebody's always trying to sell you their nonsense today, right? I just want to figure out who it is I am, how it is that we got here. Why is it that everybody's trying to lie about what this is, what we're living on, why we're living on it. If somebody knows, what's the secret? Are there, human beings that are in contact with the wardens of this place? And they told, hey, we'll take care of you if you just keep all of these people over here doing... Who knows, right? We have no idea about any of it. And those are the questions that I just think about on a deep level on a regular basis. I come into, because I started thinking about this shortly after my wife passed away. It's so funny that because I was thinking about this on a deep level, about why and what and how, in a much more focused level, I started stumbling across people who were thinking about the exact same thing as well. So this place has a way of reflecting. What is projected is constantly being reflected. So there's something going on here. And my whole goal in life now has been to try to figure that out and expose the lies, but ultimately to figure out the most important question. And that is, what is this? Who am I? And I got to get out of here. I certainly hope you follow me out, but this is a personal journey. You got to find you. You got to figure out what it is that makes you you, and then you got to recognize the power that you have, and then come up with your own escape route out of here. Because I think what we are seeing here and what we are being told about what happens after here is just a negative feedback loop. You're going to keep getting caught and suckered back into the same nonsense over and over and over again. I love what religion is in its own sense, meaning it has a lot of good moral teaching. It has a beautiful historical value. You can see how the faithful and the people, it did help, bring people together and communities together and rise. There's a lot of benefit in religious practices and philosophies of the world. That's why I'm saying I'm not here and I'm not crapping on anybody's religion. No, who am I? Because I don't know. You very well could be right. I'm just not willing to make that assumption based upon the world I see, how I see, what I hear, the things that I'm interacting with. It's telling an entirely different story than everything science, religion, the philosophies is trying to get me to believe or is trying to convey. I want to keep talking because I believe that the way you get at it, how you get it right, is through continuous conversation. And then we can start checking boxes off and say, yeah, we discussed that. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Okay, we can eliminate it. But if we're not even willing to have the conversation, willing to discuss, maybe try to experiment, try to see, maybe show us the whole picture. Because I believe that if you started sharing the truth with the entire masses on this planet, you have no idea the key components of the brains being used at what those puzzle pieces could bring together and connect when everyone is involved. I know how this magic works. The more people get involved in this, each person has a small amount of power, right? Harnessed down into these 5 senses. But when you connect with somebody else on the same vibratorial frequency, whatever you want to call it, when you feel like you're resonating with somebody else because you got the same vibe and you're in the zone, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, but when you get a group of people in that same type of attitude, you feel it. And it has a way of moving mountains. We are powerful beings, and when we line our powers up together, we are an unstoppable force. And the world doesn't want us to know that for some reason. The world doesn't want us to know so many things. But I believe that the people out there right now that's listening, and the ones that have been asking the similar questions, maybe like I have, maybe we can all get together. Maybe we can start talking about these things on a much bigger level, and maybe we can figure out what this all is. Because I don't want my wife to have to come back to this shit again. I don't want somebody to have to reincarnate into a life that's in the middle of trafficking children and trafficking. There's so much hell here. Why would anybody want somebody to be brought into this? Why? If this was what a reality could be, or if this was somebody's creation and it was beautiful at one time, well, something got in here and has totally wrecked it. This is not sustainable. It's not something that I would want to raise children in. This world is turned completely diabolical, and it never had to be. But as long as humans continue to keep doing what they do, and as long as we keep staying in this ignorant way of viewing our world, I don't believe we'll ever get out of this. We're just going to continue to keep repeating it and repeating it over and over again. And as long as truth is not out in the open in full transparency, where everyone is sharing amongst the entire, no, it will never work. It's all or nothing in this place. And it will shit on you if you do not partake the way that it wants. And it seems that the ones that try to expose it, the good people, the ones that are trying to do good, those are the ones that usually get railroaded. Those are the ones that usually live a rougher life. But the power resides within all of us deep down. And what my life has taught me, the experiences that I have, and some of the weird ones that I can't explain, have showed me a different way to interact with it. So what I do on the Rollman Revolution, the podcast, and all that other stuff, was my goal was to always change the way you see, hear, and interact with the world, so in turn the world reflects differently onto you, because that's how it works. What you project is what is reflected, and once you start focusing and continue on that focusing and you keep down that pattern, the world has a way of unveiling itself to you. Maybe not the way specifically you want to, but it will point you or to continue to drive you down the roads that you keep your focus on. Whatever your intention is, it will manifest it. And that's power. But that still doesn't explain the most complicated question. And that's, what the hell are we doing here? Who are you? Who am I? What is this all about? Stay tuned. I'll see you in the next few ones. Maybe we'll figure this out together. Peace, my friends. Talk to you then.